What's up, everybody? Welcome to another primary source walkthrough. I'm really excited to share this source with you. It is a fantastic source, and I will say that until I prepped for this walkthrough, that I had not read this, and I am sad that I had not read this. And it actually made me rethink a few things that I had been thinking about. The fascination with flappers and its place in 21st century popular culture. It's a good thing. I'll say that. So what we have in front of us is we have a document from Ellen Wells Page, and she is making a flapper's appeal to parents. Now, what you have to realize is that the flapper is a symbol of a counterculture. The 1920s, as Warren G. Harding explained to us, is kind of a return to normalcy, but a lot of young people did not see it as particularly normal, and needed to find themselves in the midst of a world that they found hostile, or a world that didn't understand them, or a world that didn't want to try to understand their concerns, and a group of older generations that just don't understand where they're coming from. I can think about the 1920s in general, and if you're a young person, well, one of the things that you want to do is you want to go out to the bar. You want to meet people, you want to have a drink, because that's what Americans had always done. Maybe it's something that you would look forward to. But now you can't do it because alcohol is illegal. Okay? Constitutionally prohibited. Fun times, right? Like, good old 18th Amendment. The only amendment of the Constitution that has a amendment that actually undoes it. It's a special time in our history. Could you imagine living through 2020 without alcohol? That's not to say you should drink too much. Just, moderation is good, I guess. But, imagine, like turning on the news or, doom scrolling through Twitter and knowing that you can't go get alcohol easily from the store. Maybe the way to think about it is with marijuana. Some of our colleagues in other states can go and get marijuana whenever they want to. I'm looking at you, Colorado. While we here in Texas can't do that because it's illegal. And some of us may feel a little bit pinched by that. Not saying that I do. Maybe I am. I don't know. I'm not really a pothead. I hate to disappoint you. In any case, so what Ellen Page here is doing, not that Ellen Page, this Ellen Page, she is trying to help people of an older generation understand what a flapper is, what a flapper does, and why being a flapper is an important thing to do. And I think that there are so many parallels between this source and some of the things. Sorry, Siri was trying to chime in on us there. I think there are so many parallels between this flapper girl was saying to people of older generations in 1922 that maybe some younger millennials or older Gen Zers, or I don't know, Gen Zers I think is the nickname at this point. In any case, what we or they might say to boomers or people of older generations, or let's not forget Gen X because everybody forgets Gen X, but then Gen X is like insulted by it but also revels in the fact that they're forgotten. Gen X is weird and I love them. Anyway, so she's going to explain what a flapper is. Okay, bobbed hair, powdered nose, fringed skirts. She goes to hops and proms and ball games and crew races. So she's going to dances, she's going to sporting events, she hangs out with the boys at the college. But there's some things that she doesn't do. She doesn't use rouge makeup, no lipstick, doesn't pluck her eyebrows. She doesn't smoke. She says she's tried it, but she didn't like it. An interesting thing, I think Foner notes in his chapter that cigarettes become a symbol of liberation for women at the time, which is fascinating. But she doesn't smoke, she doesn't drink, she doesn't do those things. So she says that she's kind of like a semi-flapper. She's not like all in on the culture, but she's not like, you know, outside of it. She's a flapper, but she's not like the full flapper. And she says, look, y'all older people need to overlook our shortcomings and appreciate our virtues. You do so much, she says, to criticize us that you miss what's good about us. She says, look, it requires brains to become and remain a fur. You have to have self-knowledge, self-analysis, cleverness, and energy. You have to know your capabilities and limitations. And you know, folks, I was thinking, when I read that paragraph, I was thinking of influencers. And, man, there's a lot of negative things that you can say about an influencer, I think. I don't understand influencer culture at all. Like, I don't get it. But, you know, that it takes somebody who knows how to market themselves, somebody who knows how to put themselves in marketable situations, an incredible amount of knowledge, whether it's of video editing, photo editing, knowing, you know, what's hot, what's not hot, you know, in terms of like cultural trends. Like, that takes a fair amount of energy and cleverness and self-knowledge and self-analysis, just like Wells Page is talking here. I think there's something to be said for that. And, you know, I can for influencers because of it. Anyway, she continues, and what the flapper is saying is, you took us to war. You took us into prohibition. You set the example. It's your fault. Well, you know, I can sympathize for sure. I mean, think about how millennials and Gen Zers are responding to boomers, baby boomers, who say, oh, you know, millennials don't buy homes because they spend too much of their money on avocado toast and Starbucks. Bruh, a latte at Starbucks and avocado toast is $15, man. Like, if I spend $15 once a week on something that makes my tummy happy, that doesn't mean I can't afford a house. That is way more complicated. Okay? It's not my fault, a millennial might say, that the gig economy is creating an environment in which it's very difficult to not live paycheck to paycheck. It's hard to get loans. You know, we feel like we've been sold a bill of goods on that third thing. I mean, this argument here should seem familiar. I think that's familiar. And he says, look, or she says, excuse me, instead of helping us work out our problems with constructive, synthetic thinking and acting, all you do is trash us. All you do is talk shit, and you don't do anything that actually helps us. So she continues, like, think back to when you were a teenager and a young person and all the things that you went through. And when you do that, you should give us confidence, not distrust. Give us practical advice, not criticism. Be patient and understanding. Do those things. She finishes by talking about how, you know, life is hard and the world has given everybody kind of a short stick. And what we really want is we want you, our elders, to help us find, encourage, and develop our special abilities and talents. Study us. Make us realize that you respect us as fellow human beings, that you have confidence in us. I feel like teachers need to hear this too, because oftentimes we don't look for that in people of younger generations. And I think maybe as young people ourselves, we owe it to us to remember Ellen Wells Page and her pointing out of a very real thing here, where older generations complain about younger generations constantly, and it doesn't do anything to help that younger generation down the line. I always like the advice, just because you suffered in the past doesn't mean that younger generations have to at least suffer the same way. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. So this has definitely helped me reevaluate what I think about flapper culture. I did not expect to hear or read this from a flapper. It's really, really fascinating. I think it's really, really good advice. Sometimes the past can speak to us in ways that we don't expect, and this was the past speaking to me in a way that I didn't expect. So, with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. If you have questions about this primary source, don't hesitate to reach out and ask them. Keep watching the videos, and I will see you for the last one this week, and then we will be moving on to the 1930s. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care of yourselves.